Well, this afternoon, the president's top economic official, Brian Deese, held a phone call with a group of senators, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, hoping to build support for his COVID relief plan. One of the 16 lawmakers invited on the call was Senator Angus King of Maine, an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. Senator King joins me now. He is also a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, thank you for coming on.
Sure. Glad to be with you, particularly on Premier Weekend, Pamela. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Glad to have you on the Premier Weekend. I want to start with this phone call, of course. You had tweeted after the call. You said today's call between the White House and members of Congress was a bipartisan discussion focused on policy solutions, which is notable in itself. Let's keep working together to speed vaccine distribution and support Americans during this pandemic. So tell us what you thought went well today, and did anything concrete come out of this call today?
Well, I think the first thing I want to emphasize is what I mentioned in the tweet, and that is it was remarkable that this meeting happened. There hasn't been a meeting like this that I know of in the past 4 years. So we had an honest, cordial, straightforward discussion with very high officials at the White House, 10 or 15 senators, 2 members of the House. In terms of what came out concrete, I think the thing that there was general consensus that the vaccine is the number one priority. We have to figure out where the bottlenecks are, and then we have to address them. And I think everybody agreed on that. There was then discussion of all the other elements of the president's proposal. There was some agreement, there was some disagreement. I think the next step is for the White House to supply us. We asked for more data. There were a lot of nerds on this call, and we want the backup. We wanted to know if the White House is saying we need to do $130 billion of school aid, what's the backup for that? Where did that number come from? So that's on the White House. We're expecting to hear from them in the next 24, 48 hours. We also are planning to get together probably at the latest on Tuesday to see whether a bipartisan package can be put together. It's not going to be easy. And remember, we just passed a package about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of work to do on this one.
Let's talk about that, because that was one of the concerns that we heard from Mitt Romney today, a concern of Republicans that, look, we just passed a COVID relief bill not so long ago, and we need to have a better understanding of how this bill is going to move the ball forward and how the money from the past bill is going to work with this bill. So do you think that the White House addressed those concerns enough on the call? And can you see any of these reluctant Republicans coming in support of the bill?
Well, I think a lot depends on the discussions that take place over the next few days. The White House did address many of the concerns, but not all. And I think we're going to have those discussions. But you got to remember, the bill that we passed at the end of December, by its very terms, was really an emergency and was designed to get us through the next 2 or 3 months. For example, the extended unemployment benefits expire on March 14th. That's 7 or 8 weeks from now. So it was a short-term fix, and everybody knew that there would be additional work. So this bill is looking more toward the summer and fall, as is really focused on 2 issues. One is the epidemic, of course, the pandemic, and secondly, the economic fallout from the pandemic. So that's what we're trying to address. Will we be able to do the whole package? I don't know. I mean, that's going to take a lot of pushing back and forth. And I think you're right, as the Republicans are somewhat reluctant at this point. But I think, as I say, there's consensus on several of the points, and I think we will come out with a bipartisan package. I don't think it'll be everything the president wants, and it may not be everything all of us want. But that's,
So
Mick
what would
Jagger
you be
said,
willing
you
to
don't always get
negotiate
what
on?
you want.
That's right. So on that point, what would you be willing to negotiate on, compromise on?
Well, I have a life principle, Pamela, and that is I don't negotiate on television.
That's too bad, because we would love for you to make some news here, but I tried.
I'm sure you would, and that's a nice try. It's your job to answer that question, ask that question, and my job not to answer it.
Okay, well, then I'll ask you this question instead. Senator Bernie Sanders said the Democrats would use reconciliation if enough Republicans don't get on board. Now, you made it clear in talking to me that you think that a bipartisan agreement will be reached. But if that doesn't happen, are you in favor of that route?
Well, I can't say, I don't think the possibility of reconciliation, which means you can do things by a simple majority, is always there. The Republicans used it several times during Donald Trump's administration, so it's not like it's some kind of out of bounds process. The question still is what's going to be in it. And remember, the Senate's 50-50. So whatever's in that package has to get at least 50 votes plus Kamala Harris. So there's still going to be some negotiation in there. I would much prefer, I think laws are better and more durable if they're passed on a bipartisan basis. Does that mean you're going to get everything you want if you're on one side or the other? No. But you get a package that has more buy-in, not only within the Congress, but from the public. And I think that makes for a stronger solution if we can get there on reasonable terms.
Before I let you go, I need to ask you about the Senate trial coming up in a couple of weeks. Wondering where you stand on that. New information is coming out, the reporting from the Times and the Wall Street Journal of how the president tried to use DOJ to overturn the election results. Where do you stand right now?
Well, I have to tell you that it's clear, and you played some clips before from Marco Rubio and various others. It's clear that there's division on this issue, and there's division in the country, as we know. And a Senate trial isn't going to help on that front. On the other hand, I'm convinced that you can't just say no harm, no foul when you have as serious an egregious attack on our democratic system as we saw over the last 2 or 3 months. There are two things, Pamela, I think you need to watch. And these are places where we don't have enough evidence. One is, what did the president know that morning when he went to talk to that crowd? Did he have intelligence that told him this was a dangerous crowd with proclivities and plans for violence? If that's the case, that makes it a more serious charge. The second question I want some answers to is, what did he do that afternoon while this riot in the Capitol was unfolding? There are reports that he was walking around the White House and couldn't figure out why people weren't as excited as he was. And it took him a long time to try to calm things down. So I think those two sets of facts, in addition to what happened before, what we all know about, are going to contribute to the resolution of this matter. And I want to know, I want to know what the president knew and when he knew it. I think that's a very important part of determining the outcome of this case.
But as it stands now, can you tell us where you are in terms of conviction or acquittal?
No. As you can tell, I think what the president did was way, way, way out of bounds to mislead the American people. I mean, if he wanted to contest the election and go to court and have recounts, that's fine. But around December 1st, it was clear what the outcome was. And the problem was, he told his followers every day for over 2 months, something was stolen from you, you can't trust the courts, it was rigged, it was fraud, and those people believed that. And that is an arrow in the heart of democracy, to undermine the legitimacy of an election, knowing that's what you're doing. And then, of course, he invited this crowd to Washington. He sent a tweet in late December. See you in D.C. on January 6th. It will be wild. Well, what does that mean? And then he goes out and fires up the crowd that morning. And his lawyer says we need this trial by combat. I mean, it was a very serious attack on our system. This wasn't a policy dispute about immigration or budgets or whatever. This was our democratic system itself. And that's why I think this is so serious. So you can tell how I'm leaning. But I'm going to listen to the arguments, and I'm going to listen to the lawyers, and I want some additional facts. This is a very odd trial, Pamela, because the 100 jurors are witnesses. We were there.
It is very odd, right?
And that makes it a kind of unusual situation, to say the least.
It's unprecedented in several ways. Also, a trial for a former president. There's a lot of new aspects to this. But Senator Angus King, thank you so much for spending a part of your Sunday with us. We hope you'll come back on the show.
Absolutely. Nice to be with you, Pamela.
Thank you.